Let's talk about post-workout nutrition. What should you eat after you work out? Let's dig right in. So here is what some people say. After you weightlift, you have to actually go ahead and eat carbs, right? And you need those carbs because you have to replenish your glycogen stores. But that doesn't make any sense because you already worked out. So, unless you have another workout planned on the same day, you actually don't need your glycogen anymore. You need a little bit to live, but not a lot. Therefore, you don't really have to replenish it right after you work out because you don't need a full glycogen store. And regardless when you actually eat your carbs, your body will replenish the glycogen store anyway. As long as the glycogen store is not full, your body will use any carb that comes in and push it towards your glycogen store. Only if the glycogen store is topped up, your body will start to convert excess carbs into body fat. Let me give you an example illustration here. Let's say you have a car and you just went to the fuel station and topped your tank up 100%. Now you drive for 10 minutes. What happens? Your tank is not full anymore, maybe 98% or so. So what do? You drive back to your fuel station and refill your tank again? No, not really, right? Unless you need a full tank because you have to drive for several hours now, you don't have to refill your tank. You can refill your tank if you really want to, but it doesn't make any sense. Same with glycogen stores. You can use carbs after you work out, but just to replenish your glycogen stores? Not really. Oh, and by the way, as I said earlier, excess carbs will be converted into body fat. If you use the metaphor that I used with the car, you will notice that if you overfill your tank, it will spill. Basically, it spills body fat in that case. So think about it that way. But does it make any sense then to have carbs after you work out? Actually, yes. Not to replenish your glycogen stores, but rather to spike insulin. Because insulin is your storage hormone. So every time insulin is high, your body will build stuff. So in case you worked out earlier, your body will use the insulin spike to actually trigger muscle growth. If you spike your insulin without training beforehand, it will just trigger fat storage. But here's the kicker. Out of 30 grams of protein, you will get an insulin spike as well. And by the way, you will get it 1 to 2 hours after you work out. So the anabolic 10-minute window that you might have heard of doesn't exist. If you can get a shake or something in the second you stop your workout, that's not a problem. If you drive home and you get yourself something to eat an hour or an hour and a half after you worked out, that's totally fine. The only benefit in adding carbs to your protein is because carbs raise your insulin levels higher and faster, so you get a bigger spike, but you don't need a lot of carbs for that. Here's what I would recommend. If your goal is fat loss, I would just eat plain protein alone, because you will still get the insulin spike without triggering it such a high spike that your body will store body fat. And because in a weight loss scenario, you always want to handle your insulin levels. You don't want them to spike too much. If you are not in a fat loss state, so you're bulking, you want to increase your muscle mass, you can add a little bit of carbs. But make sure it's fast-acting carbs. Something like sweet potatoes or dextrose if you're into stuff like that, not oatmeal. So here's what I recommend in terms of food, in terms of what you actually should get after your workout. On third place, I would say 3 grams of BCAAs. As I said earlier, 30 grams of protein will spike your insulin already. You can also just eat 3 grams of BCAAs because they have roughly the same amount of leucine than 30 grams of high quality protein. that will trigger your insulin response and muscle protein synthesis as well. I put this on third place because BCAAs are quite expensive, and I would only recommend them if you have the money and you really want to spare yourself calories, because this way you only get 30 to 40 calories in after you work out. So you have a lot of calories left throughout the day if you're in a weight loss scenario. If you don't have the money, or you're fine with getting a little bit more calories in after you work out, I would go with the second place, which is a protein shake. And if you're in a muscle gain scenario, add some fast acting carbs. But number one is always real food. But here's something you have to remember: don't eat too much fat for 1 to 2 hours after you work out. The jury is still out on this, but some data suggests that your body is in a storage mode right after you work out, especially if you raise your insulin levels. Therefore, it might be possible that a lot of the fat you consume is actually stored as body fat right away instead of used for energy. So stay away from fat 1 to 2 hours after you work out. Make sure to get enough protein in and maybe some carbs for the insulin spike, but not for glycogen. So what's the bottom line here? Don't stress about it. It's not a big deal. Yes, after 10 years of not getting any post-workout nutrition versus always getting protein and carbs, you will see a difference. But for the average person, plain protein is enough, and maybe add some carbs if you can. If you can't, if you're on the run or whatever, it's not a big deal. The catabolic devil will not kill you. Don't stress about it. So if you like this video, I would really appreciate a thumbs up, because it really helps the channel grow. And let me know in the comments down below what you eat after you work out, if you eat, and when you eat. And if you like these kinds of videos where I explain something with post-it cards and stuff like that, just let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Cheers!